Too loud or good?
Kielty, plumbing, heating, cooling, celebrating 50 years of bringing comfort to you. Feeling realty, call RJ Kielty, they'll get your system working to cool you down. And if fixing a leak is what you seek, RJ Kielty service is the best around. RJ Kielty, plumbing, heating, cooling, over 50 years of bringing comfort to you.
Hello, welcome.
Episode 6.
So today we are here with Mr. Jason Ayan. Am I saying your last name right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. He is with Tighten Up Training as well as Shark Tank Fitness.
Yeah.
So we're going to give it to you. So tell us about your Shark Tank Fitness and everything, what it's about.
Sure. So, I've been starting off, I was an athlete all my life, played in all the different sports, got to kind of fast forward, jump ahead, had a chance to play in the NFL, got offered to sign to a team, and just before I was leaving to sign my contract, I blew up my ACL and MCL. So that was the beginning of my, hey, what are you going to do? How does this work? Up until that point and after that, I've never had an injury. So really, it was a new experience for me. Everything I had done up until that point, I was healthy. I didn't have to deal with that. Went through the rehab process and very quickly learned that when you go to, as an individual, a little bit different if you're already an athlete on a team or you're playing for a school, but as the general public, their goal is just to get you to be able to do something similar to what you did when you walked in the door. So if you couldn't walk in the door, they want you to be able to walk out. If you couldn't write, they want you to be able to write. Very basic. And I wanted to be able to still continue to compete at that level. So I really, really started to study the body, really started to look at how it moved as a whole organism versus just you go to the gym, you go through the typical workouts, people have their chest day and their leg day and their back day. And I was like, all right, well, that's definitely not a smart way to train. So really just started studying the body, got involved with athletes through word of mouth, and then quickly became, a trainer with pro athletes and collegiate athletes in all the different sports. And then one thing just led to another. As far as starting up Shark Tank Fitness, it's kind of evolved over the years with different names, as I was trying different things out. And in the beginning, I really wanted to gear it towards the general public. Very quickly, I learned it's really hard. You run into the same issues even as a trainer as the gyms do. So few people, even after they've invested in themselves, follow through on that. Correct. And it's a really, really hard thing to overcome. In the gym industry, when you're working for gyms, I always explain this to people, even to this day, very little of the money that you pay to a gym goes to a trainer. So the training industry has become really washed out because there's a certification for everything, just like there is in other industries where everybody can do that thing now. So in the gym industry, though, they learned, we make our money in the gym industry off the people that don't use the gym. So the retention rate and usage rate in the gym industry is only about 15%. That's all you see.
Yeah, that's really low.
Yeah.
I've actually heard that before. Like, people that use it once a month is like something crazy, like only like 10 or 15%. So people just pay with the idea of one day I'm gonna start working out again.
Yeah.
And that's how gym.
That's a lot of money. So if you think about it, the average gym membership or the average gym has about a 5,000 member base.
Yeah.
And this is with your good sized gyms. If all 5,000 of those people, you think it's crowded now, just at 5 p.m. and there's 100 people in the gym. Imagine if all 5,000 people use the gym. How much wear and tear there would be on the equipment, the expense that would be. So they don't want everybody using the gym. Then they started to learn the same concept happens with personal training. So if you come into the gym and you buy a $2,000 training package and you only train 3 or 4 of those sessions, that trainer never sees the rest of that money. All that money stays in the gym's bank account.
That's
And what you do train out, it is sad, what you do train out, maybe 20% of that rate actually goes to the trainer. So it's really hard for trainers to make a living inside of a gym.
Right. And like you were saying, like, I'm sure that when you are a trainer at the gym, you become quickly burnt out. Something similar to like a teacher. They're like, well, the general public, we're not really seeing raises. Sometimes the kids are being crazy, things like that. Same thing. Like, I'm sure a lot of the personal trainers at the gym, it just burns you out because you're not seeing your financial reward along with the personal reward.
Yes.
So when you have been doing your personal training, would you say that like you have a lot more follow through for the people that are on the outside of the gym coming to you and wanting to learn from you outside of the gym, or?
I would say it's a lot more. Seek you outside of the gym tend to have a little bit more disposable income. So they are willing to invest a little bit more of themselves, but there's fewer of those people around.
Right.
The number of what you're trying to capture is still a smaller base. I've had plenty of people that, don't bat an eye at money, and a month later they stop doing it. Yeah, they do. And it's your goal as a trainer to keep them involved. I have always had a very different aspect and look at training. Reagan had commented this morning, on somebody, he doesn't yell and scream. He just looks at you in disappointment if you don't do what's asked. And that really is how I've always trained, whether it was an athlete or a kid. You've got to be more invested in what your goal is than I am. If it's more important to me, just like anything else in life, we're never going to get there. So if I don't chase clients around, I don't send all the extra texts and emails and phone calls about, hey, don't forget about your session. We sit down, we make a plan. This is what we're going to do for the next 4, 6, 8 weeks. These are the days we're doing it. When you come to your session, we'll get after it. Certainly when you leave, hey, Tanner, I'll see you on Thursday, and then I expect you to be there.
Well, exactly, because if you want to, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse.
Yes, absolutely.
So I have to ask you this.
Sure.
Tell us about the Shark Tank name. How did you get there? How did you come up with, what is the symbolism behind it?
Absolutely. So I have a deathly fear of water. I can swim, and my clear pool is the only water I'll enter. So as much as I think boats are amazing and catching, going out fishing would be awesome, I don't go in the ocean. I don't go on cruise ships. I have an absolute fear.
Diving with sharks is out of the question.
That would be one of those things where I'd be doing it because I'd be trying to overcome something. And even then, there's so many things out there. And I know it sounds like such a silly concept because over the years of doing things, playing football and putting myself in other sports where you can get injured, that never bothered me. It's kind of like almost like how a hypochondriac would be with being sick. Like it's the unknown that scares me. So it was that fear of sharks that developed Shark Tank, and getting people into an environment where, kind of a little side subject, about 95% of the ocean is undiscovered.
Yeah, so you say it like that makes me not want to even water.
Yeah, so you don't know what's out there. But when you think of it from just our own personal aspect, it's the same thing. They say you only use 4 to 5 or 6% of your brain. Really, how much do you know about yourself? We're the same way. So I kind of just developed that same concept. When I have a client that comes into the gym, they really don't know what their potential is. They don't know where they are, what they can be. They're in a very uncomfortable place because it's fitness. How do I look? How do I compare even to your other clients? So I bet they're better than I am. And so it's just it's about this discovery. So all those things over the years, Discovery Channel, Shark Week, Shark Tank, it all just came together, and I thought it flowed well for what I like to do.
I know, I love that. So for me, I actually have a huge fascination for sharks, and Shark Week especially. That is my favorite week of all of the year.
I was one of those crazy kids too. In the summertime, just watched it constantly.
Yeah. Well, I remember the one time I ran into my dad, and he was like, "Yeah, she actually wanted to be a shark trainer." So I was training sharks. So what you do with dolphins, I was going to do that with sharks. Yeah, I should. And then they pattern something with the laser, and then they go after the laser. So I personally would love to go shark cave diving or whatever. But I love that because I just love sharks. The one time I work out with Jason, I get all these comments like, "Are you going with Shark Tank, Carol?" I'm in a gym. His garage doesn't look like it. Yeah.
So I know you incorporate kind of business into that too. You bring in business leaders, and it's a really cool networking. You're working on mind, body, and soul, kind of all at once.
So years ago, I got asked to come to a seminar, so a typical one, similar to Moving Tighten Retreat, like we do at Tighten Up Training. And they asked me to come out and do some fitness classes in the morning. We just, same thing. Anybody that wants to show up will do it. Could be 10 people, could be 100. And as we started to do that, I very quickly learned that you individually, I might not be able to get to come and work out. But if you knew that 10 of your other associates were coming to the gym or coming to a group workout, you'd show up.
Yeah.
And you try to, hide behind some of the other people, and that's when you start to identify. But the group setting was such an easy way to get people out of their shell. And then once they were there, it's like anything else. I'm sure it would be like the same thing if I actually got into a cage and dove a shark to get over that fear. But it really does. There's just such this misconception of what being healthy is. I tell people all the time, there's skinny people that die every day.
Yeah.
Healthy isn't just about being skinny. It's not just about vanity. There's a byproduct to being healthy. You're going to feel better. You're going to look better. Clothes fit better. Your energy's better. And those things translate into everything we do. So when it started to get to the business side of things, I had a company that approached me and said, hey, we're outgrowing our culture. Things have changed. We need somebody to come in and take a look at it. And it was an industry at that time, but I had no idea. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Because I don't know anything about what you do, other than seeing you guys around. And the owner of the company was a client. And he said, I love the way you coach and train and pick my brain. And I see your other clients. Just come in and tell me what you think we can do. All right, excellent. I'll do that. So very simple. Went in, did those things, and evaluated the staff and the team and just how they led a huddle in the morning, how they talked to their associates during the day, everything. Went back and said, here you go. This is, if it were me and I was in a big company like this, these are the things that I would do different. He said, all right, great. That's your next job. Go do those things different. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
And it very quickly changed from this particular company had a corporate location, a separate franchise, or sorry, not a separate franchise, but a separate location that was a corporate franchise. And at that point in time, they weren't even bringing people in to do tours of it. So even when they were selling franchises to prospective franchisees, they would send them somewhere else. They didn't want them going to their locations because they were in just disarray. So we quickly changed that, and it was little things. It was introducing, again, part of the thing that I talk about now is you don't have to have a fancy gym at your business. You don't have to have a fancy gym at home. You don't have to have any weights at all. This is just about starting with basic things. We went outside in the park a lot, and we all stretched for about 7 to 10 minutes together. Picked a different guy to lead the stretches every day. Everybody just chatted. You weren't allowed to talk about work, which is the same rule at Shark Tank. You can vent at the end and certainly network, but during the workout, it's about getting away from everything. So it started with the stretches, and then it was fitness, and then it was, all right, well, what really motivates people to do better at work? How do we get them to be more productive? Fitness is certainly, my personal opinion, is the biggest foundational piece of that.
So I agree with that. So I've always tried to stay fit, and I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit. I played football, hockey, and stuff like that growing up here. I played hockey too.
Nice.
Yeah. Little.
They play co-ed, so I think.
This doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, the girl hockey players, honestly, growing up, they were the ruthless ones.
Yeah.
I feel so much better if I'm a morning workout guy too. I can't work out in the afternoon.
Yeah.
If I'm just too mentally drained and everything.
Yeah.
You have kids and stuff like that. Just afternoons are about that.
Yep.
But morning, I try to wake up early, work out, go in the sauna, do that kind of stuff. And I feel so much better.
No, I saw your line this morning from the sauna.
That's what I said.
First thing.
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, it's, I get some me time. I can think. I usually I read in the morning, stuff like that, and it starts my day off so well
It's
versus.
really center yourself in the morning too. Like we had a leadership training with Marcia yesterday, and she was talking about like spending a few minutes in the morning, whether it's 5, whether it's an hour while you're working out, but like focusing and realigning like yourself and slowing down so you can be more productive throughout the day and
Yeah.
collect your thoughts. So for sure.
Yeah, I read an interesting article yesterday that said here in the US, the average, I'm just taking the average 8-hour workday, the average productivity of an 8-hour workday is 2.58 hours.
It's my first 2 hours when
That's
I come
it.
in straight up.
Like, but then it teeters off after that. And when I talk to businesses and owners and really ask them, it's just people get sidetracked, just like in fitness by the magic pill, looking for the same thing in business. You know, one of the companies I worked with, I set up a timer. It was a 60-minute timer. It went off every 60 minutes. And the owner was like, we're gonna do that every hour. I said, it's 5 minutes though. It's 5 minutes from every hour. I'm telling you right now that statistically speaking, your associates right now are nowhere engaged more than 2.5 hours a day already. So if 5 minutes gets them to be productive for 55 minutes every hour, for almost every hour of the day, how much more are you going to see success in what
Throughout
you're
your
doing?
company, right?
Yeah, throughout the company. They just need that 5 minutes. And when they do take, you know, right now, the average person takes a 15-minute break. They go out and they get on the phone and they're dealing with a stressful situation at home, or their kid is sick at school, or it's not a 15-minute break. It's 15 minutes of something else stressful that I'm now going to go back to my desk and sit, which is the next worst thing you can do all day long.
Yeah, right.
Sit. And it just, so they're doing that day after day after day. And that's, again, because fitness is so important to me and my belief in what it does. And I've seen it change people individually and businesses as a whole. The business owners I talk to, like, gosh, you guys are investing in, you know, training programs that are online formats, and you're showing videos and you're doing this, but they're doing the same result. They're sitting and watching the video.
Yeah.
You know, is it something that really motivates them? You know, if I take the same person and for 30 days, we do 10 squats and 10 push-ups a day, and you do a 5-minute video that they have no interest in, which version of that employee do you think is going to be better at the end of 30 days? That's a very small dose.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, and then there's the recognition part. You know, we run fitness challenges all the time. And again, they're fun. Some of them are groups. Some of them are individuals. Some of them are, hey, it's going to be, you know, Carol and Jesse and the digital team versus the management team. We're going to see who gets the most reps in, you know, this month.
It's not me.
And they, you know, and they start talking trash, and they, you know, they see each other in the hallway like, hey, I just did my reps. Just little things like that make all the difference in the world, that get people focused on other things. But, you know, there's just so much in a day that really is based around stress in our lives, all the things we have. I was thinking this morning, there was another statistic, and it was a bad one, had nothing to do with fitness, but it was on the news. I said, you know, when you look back through the history of, again, just focusing on the US, there is, take that off.
Yeah.
There is a number, you know, if you go back 20 years ago, you know, the US population may have been 150 million. And there was really no social media 20 years ago. So something bad that happened in California and you here in Tampa, unless you subscribe to the newspaper, you didn't hear about that.
Which was nice.
It was super nice, you know? So your stress level was really just limited to really what you
What's in
produce
front
on
of
your
you,
own,
right?
what's in front of you. So you could ignore all that outside noise. And if you were able to leave that stress behind, again, now our kids have the ability to contact us 24/7, which is, you know, it isn't. At the end of the day, I don't care how mean it sounds. I don't want to hear from my kid 24/7, you know, but they have the ability, and, you know, now all the things they're dealing with at school, they're texting you and you're trying to figure it out. There's just so much on top of the population being doubled and everything being immediate. Every moment of our day that we don't really focus on the control is filled with some kind of stress. And it just has such stress does so many damaging things to the body. Stress is probably as close a thing to diabetes. You know, they call that the silent killer. My mother has it and has had multiple body parts amputated and still doesn't make the right choices. That's what stress does to you. It does all of those things compounded with, do you sit all day for work?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you eat good? Do you smoke? Do you drink? You know, I don't expect everybody to be a saint. I'm certainly not. I love a good cigar. I love a nice drink. It's nice to reward yourself with that, but you've got to put in the
Can't be a
work.
daily lifestyle.
No,
you know?
not at all. Not at all.
Not like Twinkies every single day.
Yes, yeah.
Shouldn't be doing
yeah.
that.
So, you know, it's getting people to understand that. It doesn't matter who it is, individuals or business owners. And then it's also remembering that because everything is attributed, you know, you think about at my house, I have photo albums still. I still print pictures. If I were at,
And
yeah,
I send in the I develop the role.
yes.
And then back to old school. We did.
Yeah. So you think, you know,
She's calling us old school.
yeah. I'll be 47 this year. No more denying it. But you think about, we talk to our kids, I have the same conversations about our time on electronics. So if, you know, if I take a picture just like I did before and I go back and I come home today and I'm looking at pictures of this thing today, I'm thinking that I'm remembering looking at the pictures, the events of today, but my kids or everybody else just sees, well, Dad's on the phone again. Dad's on the phone, why couldn't I? They've done such a good job at tricking us. And I'm not necessarily a conspiracy theorist, but
No, it's 100%.
the greatest trick in the world was saying, hey, get one of these because you can put everything you need on it and you don't have to worry about where it is anymore.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about all the hacking that's out there and all. We're gonna blow by that stuff, but just put it all in here. Put your pictures on here. And now we're in a situation where you walk into a house, and again, making us old. Every home I walked into for a family member or a friend, there were pictures everywhere. I could see everybody's life and what went on that year, and it was conversation. You know, at my house on the wall, the kids like, "Dad, you remember we did that? You know, oh, you remember this? Or look how much I've grown." It's on the phone and it's in there, but it's not the same thing. You know, it's like it's this hidden secret, and when you decide that you want to enjoy it, you remember that you're looking back at it, but your kid, your loved one, your spouse, whoever it is, they don't see that. Versus you standing in front of a wall and like, oh, what you looking at? Like, I just was, you know, I remember when we did this. Those kind of things make all the difference in the world. That's the mental health side of things, and why I say it's just as important as the physical health. You know, rewards. And I'm kind of hopping around here, but I'm just thinking, like, just in general, thinking of pictures. So at one of the companies that I went in and worked with, this is my 5th belt that I've purchased. This is the first one I purchased for me. The other 4 have been for the companies I've been with. So we started a thing where at the end of every day we would find, it didn't have to be every day, but we looked every day. We would find the person that did the thing that day, whatever it was that stood out. You might go 3 or 4 days without finding something that really stood out, but when you did, we had the belt. You don't have to have the belt. Threw the belt over their shoulder, took a picture. It's still to this day, Carol, you can speak to this. I think it's 19 cents to get a picture developed.
It's super cheap.
Yeah, and by the time yeah, absolutely. You pass a Walgreens or a CVS, and at least 5 of them.
You can pull on your phone and I can get it printed right there.
Get it printed out. So I had a picture frame, basically in a dumpster that came from a job. Knocked the picture out of it, threw some twine up, put it on the wall. Every time I took a picture, we
That's
on the
awesome.
picture, and it was by the front door. So everybody that came in, every day the crew came in, every day a customer came in, they got to see that. They took pride in that. You know, that went so much further than necessarily, you know, cash bonus necessarily, or a gift card.
It feels in them that, like, hey, you can work towards something. Like, you're working towards success essentially, and it almost in a way like puts that FOMO in them. Like, I want to be like that. So if all the people that you're around with are all working towards the same goal, or working to be up on your photo booth, like I want to do it too. So then it's like this constant like cycle of motivation to grow and work towards that. And to do good so you can end up on it.
Just
you know?
culture.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a positive business
culture together, and we're doing that to help, and that's gonna help that person. You know, I can always tell when somebody has been working out and a lot, they're starting to really feel more confident, you know, themselves. You could tell they're mentally clearer than they were. I mean, I know I get that way. I get a lot,
absolutely.
you know what I mean? It like helps me with stress, and then it really gives me a lot of, then I really start thinking about self-development books and stuff like that. And it's just a compounding effect, compounding, and it makes you a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. And so many people are, I don't want to say they're so far away from where they could be, but that's their perception of themselves is, I've been doing, these things this way for so long, and it's where I am. It's going to take me forever to get there. And part of one of the discussions I had yesterday is when you're planning something, whether it's a new business, an old business, an individual, a work, a weightlifting goal, a workout goal, you have to plan for the obstacles as well. I can't just be, I'm going to sit down and write my plan. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and check my boxes. Because inevitably, I heard a quote a long time ago, I don't know who said it, but they said the shelf life of motivation is the first obstacle.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, yeah, that's
moving
100% right.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Oh man, I got my list. It's, whatever, first of the year. And, boom, first obstacle hits. So those are the questions I pose. All right, great plan. I see how you're going to get there. But we know something's going to happen. I know that if you try to work out at 7 a.m. immediately after you drop your son or daughter off at school, what are you going to do on the day that they're sick? Okay, so that's your first obstacle, because that's the easiest one to come up. Oh, well, I'm like, well, so you don't want to leave them at home, you're going to feel guilty. Maybe if they're older, you leave them at home, but then you're still going to feel guilty. So do you say, okay, I'm just going to do 30 minutes of something at home. That way I don't miss this day. That's planning for the obstacle, and then boom, right back on track. What's next? Injury. So what are you going to do? You don't stop working out. If you go to a doctor, I love doctors. In a way, I'm not knocking anybody's profession.
I have some on that.
Yes, it's a love-hate, but a doctor's typically going to tell you to rest. That's their CYA. They can't tell you to go exercise, but I'm going to tell you right now, doesn't matter what you look up, you injury, scar tissue builds up, less range of motion, less movement. Next time you go to do it, it hurts, you don't do it anymore. Well, I don't do that anymore because it hurts. It's actually the opposite of what you should do.
Muscles weakening by not looking.
Yeah,
right.
you wouldn't, if the garage door was sticking, you wouldn't refuse to put WD-40 in there. You would start spraying it, and then you'd roll it up and down. And as it rolled more and more, you'd spray and you'd roll, and all of a sudden it works good again. Your body works the same way. So the more sedentary you are, the less it's going to happen. The slower you're going to be able to recover, if you're able to recover.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's human nature or what, but once you stop, you're done. It takes so much harder. I think you just have short-term memory loss, and you're like, all right, well, I'm not gonna, work out. It's too tough, or I got this excuse or that excuse.
Yeah.
But then once you start working out again, you're like, man, this feels so great. Why did I stop?
Yeah. Those first few days of being sore, getting through that initial burst of things, and then it all goes away and everything. I've never had somebody come in and go, yeah, you know what? I tried that exercise thing. I got negative results. Everything I did. Yeah. Nobody says that. No, I didn't feel good. I'm like, oh, okay. So it does. It's got every positive effect in the world. And it really, people just have to give it a chance to start basic. Everybody's base is different. Even at the professional athlete level, every one of their bases was different. Now, pro athletes and the general public have the same mindset. I think it happens it happens at work, it happens at life, it happens with exercise. We tend to focus on, when we want to get better at something, we tend to focus on our strengths. I'm really good at this, so I'm going to find somebody else that, I'm going to listen to their stuff and I'm going to do more of that. All right, well, what about your weakness? So where is that at? Well, it's this, but I'm just going to make this stronger. I'm like, okay, so if your weakness is here and your strength is here, that gap only gets bigger if your strength isn't going to pull that weakness. In fact, if anything, it's going to push it further away.
Yeah.
So let's focus on what you need to get stronger, because as your weakness increases, you may never even do the thing that happens with the strength, but you're going to notice that your strength is already way above where it was. And pro athletes are going to be the first ones that are the hardest ones to get to do that, because I had NBA guys. I can jump high. I'm like, all right, great. Well, what are we recovering from? Knee injury. I'm like, so you don't think we should strengthen everything around the knee? Like, you want to come in here and do upper body work? That isn't any good.
Ain't gonna work. No.
I got skinny legs already. I'm like, well, that's because you haven't trained them. So let's go back and train them, And then teaching people, one of the biggest things I incorporate in my fitness is teaching people that nothing we do in life is done one body part or one muscle at a time. Whatever you want to do is basic movement. Lift your hand and touch the side of your headphone. there's a handful of dozen muscles in there that you just
Oh, yeah.
use to do that. You have to train the body the same way that you use it on a daily basis. Here with what men and women have to do out in the field and labor intensive and twisting and turning, that's an exercise.
Yeah, I want to hear on that because earlier you said that to train one muscle group at a time because so many people do that. Why? I want to hear for you the science behind that. Of why
Sure.
the full body movement is super important, just like you said. But
Yeah.
I want to hear it. Yeah.
So if you were there's a couple of different things. We could talk this stuff for hours and hours. So I'm trying to squeeze it all in. Sorry. So the long and short of it is, again, visually, we see something in a magazine and we go, oh, I want to look like that. And this is going to be typically men. They're stubborn, and you get into that meathead look where they're like, yeah, I want to be jacked. All right, great. What benefit is? You want to be in a bodybuilding contest? No. Okay. What is it you want to do? Well, I play in a men's league, and I want to be able to, be stronger at basketball. I'm like, so you think being that big, it's going to make you a better basketball player? That's not going to happen. So, years ago, and again, if you're a bodybuilder and you can afford to spend hours in the gym, this is very specific sport and exercise, then go for it. If you want to spend, and I'm talking hours, if you look at what those guys do, men and women, you're talking 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. That is their job. So they do nothing but train chest for 8 hours on Monday.
Wow.
And they do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But the average person that comes in spends 45 to 60 minutes of exercise and does, 3 chest exercises and 3 back exercises on Monday. Maybe they do that again this week. Most people are going to say, yeah, that's what I do on Mondays. So they're not going to do that again. There's no benefit to that. Your muscles they're benefiting the day of the workout, but they don't need that much recovery.
Yeah.
Using that muscle group or thinking you're using that muscle group once a week is not going to benefit you. And most people wind up missing a workout anyways. So now what if you miss next Monday?
Right.
So you're
there
going
you
to go
go.
10,
So
12, 13 days before
Right.
you work out that body part. So my coach at a very young age, and I'm very lucky, he lives here in Tampa. I still pop in and see him. Amazing guy. He taught me at a very young age. He said, listen, if you're not training to be a bodybuilder or sport specific, you should be doing total body workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday and Thursday, spend some extra time doing some cardio, some extra core work. Take the weekends off. 5 days a week of intense training is way more than enough. You don't need to be in there for all those long times. The other side to that is, just like the productivity level at work, employees are clocked in for 8 hours a day, but they're only productive for 2.58. And that's
Yeah.
across all industries. Almost 3 hours a day. So if you go to the gym, and I typically ask guys, how long are you at the gym? I'm at 2 hours a day. I'm like, yeah. How long are you taking between sets? Oh, I talk a little bit and rest. I'm like, all right, so you do what, 8 exercises in the
Yeah.
course of 2 hours?
Yeah.
That's what you do around the house. Like that's the equivalent of, oh yeah, I picked this thing up and moved it, and then I went and sat down on the couch and watched a little bit of show. That's not exercise. Exercise is intensity versus time. So total body. 2 exercises a body part: chest, shoulders, back, triceps, biceps. That's 10 exercises. Depending on your goal, if you're looking to increase muscle size, if you want to tone, lose weight, it'll vary a little bit. But regardless of what you're doing, a total body exercise, you should be able to complete that in under 60 minutes. That's
right.
it. It doesn't take days and hours to be in the gym.
That I'm kind of that guy too. I'm not good with like the total body stuff, but I love doing like triceps. I like just doing different things that real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm limited for it, but I feel better doing that. I could tell with my body that
Yeah.
that works better.
Yeah, and it's just you focus on it. And the other part of that is never let your routine become routine. It's such an awful word to have when it comes to fitness. I typically say if you're consistently in the gym 3 days a week, then every 4 weeks you should be doing something completely different. You're still working out those body parts, but if you're doing dumbbell press and cable flies for chest along with your other stuff, then 4 weeks from now, 12 workouts from now, you should be doing something different.
Okay.
Because if you are in the gym consistent, your body adapts relatively quickly.
And it's getting used to that, even if you are upping your weights. So.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, the weight just, and again, focusing back on everybody else, typically what happens is we go up in weight and our form gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
So we got bad form. Some people recognize it and they go, I have bad form when I do that, so I'm just going to keep it the same weight. But they're still doing the same exercise.
That's why I hate working out at the gym. It's like, I know my form is wrong. Don't look at
it. And that's everybody though.
Well, everybody wants to look like they're tough.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just swinging.
Yes.
You know, they're not, you know, nice, controlled.
Yeah.
You know, I've had that same issue before, but I'm the same thing, and I've heard and talked to people, and it's just all about control, and you can feel it so much better. You know, bring it in whole.
Yeah.
You know what I
Makes a
mean?
big difference. Big difference. Yeah. And then training total body again goes back to life. You know, talk to anybody, especially if you're in that 30 to 50 year old age group where you've gotten beaten up with life a little bit, got kids doing those things. I'll talk to somebody and I threw my back out. I'm like, well, what'd you do? I was reaching for a damn coffee cup. That's it. Huh? Had nothing to do. It's the same guy that's out installing ACs all day long, but he reached up to grab a coffee cup, or he bent over wrong, to grab some wiring off the ground. And I'm like, well, that's how do you train? Either A, don't work out, or B, they're like, well, I don't work out because my job is my workout. I'm like, no, that actually doesn't work either, especially in the moving industry. Movers will tell me that all the time. Well, I move all day. That's my workout. I'm like, no, that's your job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But that's a repetitive motion. The reason you're going to become injured is because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again with no other training added in. I'm not saying that what you do isn't hard, but you absolutely need to be spending 30 minutes doing exercises that mimic that movement. If you're doing a lot of twisting and odd, positions and you should be doing something similar to that. There's an exercise that you can make stuff up. Like there's not just one book of exercises. So this is it. This is your choice.
You can customize it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all part of, being there in person, going into a company and saying, okay, well, what do you guys do? If it's a labor intensive job, show me what your men and women are doing out there. And then let's put together exercises, again, non-weight bearing in the beginning. If it's something you decide to invest in, long-term down the road, then great. There's some inexpensive.
Mark Price says Jason Ayan makes you feel muscles you didn't know you had. It's true.
Thank you, Mark.
It's true. I'm like waddling around like It's very good. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to bark, but I'm good.
That's awesome.
So I got kind of like a hot topic.
Sure.
A lot of people are talking about testosterone.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on it?
This is where I walk that line. The same people that sell the pill sell the panic.
Yeah.
There are people that are genuinely low, have low levels of things. So it's why it's very important to go get your blood work done and get tested. Find out where you are. Everybody that asks me about nutrition plans and supplements, same thing. If you're not going to go get blood work done, your guess is as good as mine.
So let me ask you on blood work.
Yep.
Just like the basic blood work, or like
I would get at least one full workup. You want to find out everything. So not only do you want to find out what you may have too much of, what you don't have enough of, because there's also things that require other things to be paired up. I'm trying to remember, it could be wrong. Quote me on this, but I've had clients that had very low iron levels to be basic thing, and they took an iron supplement. I don't have low iron levels, so I didn't think anything of it other than they told me to take iron supplement. I said, okay, great. They weren't seeing some results they were looking for. Well, it turns out if you take an iron supplement, you also have to take its vitamin B or C. If you don't take vitamin B or C, your body won't absorb the iron supplement.
Yeah, same thing.
So
I think it's like B12 you have to take, or B12 you have to take vitamin A and K.
Yes. So those things all go together. So, I try to give people the very basic of this is how you should structure your day, but getting back to, testosterone and HGH and these other things that are out there. If you need them, do them, but it should be a temporary thing. Most of them will give you a boost to help you get the energy levels you need to start doing the things you need to do.
That will naturally
get you there. The problem again is, if we were gonna, pick apart everybody that's out there, if they're not eating right and not sleeping right, not clearing their head and not exercising right, then you're always going to be reliant on whatever that supplement is.
That's true.
If you the least expensive way you can fix your problems and get yourself off of medications and get yourself out of scenarios is to eat good.
Yeah.
It's to eat what grows, in the ground. That's it.
Pharmaceutical companies don't want to hear that. And honestly, doctors, I got a lot of good friends who are doctors and I appreciate everything they do, but a lot of them, it's kind of just, let's mask the problem with
Yes.
the truth.
Yeah.
And I get their side too, because they tell people all the time, you need to work out, you need to do this, and
Don't listen.
that people
Yeah.
aren't going to listen.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they, okay, well, I guess this is it. So, I'm not blaming it on them, but I see that too many times that it's just throwing stuff and really a lot of stuff can be fixed.
Naturally.
Doing the right thing.
And
Yeah.
I don't blame doctors either. My ex-brother-in-law, I'm still great friends with, is a doctor, keeps himself healthy, and we have these conversations all the time. But the problem goes back to people don't want to make the right choice. So they've got to give them medicine, knowing that there's a side effect that's going to require another medicine. So they just see it set up that way. And our health insurance, through most companies, it's changed a little bit, but health insurance is designed, there's not a health insurance plan out there that when you go through to pick your primary care provider, it's a physician. There's not a trainer list.
No.
That's true.
There's not a mental coaching list. There's a doctor list. That's the way insurance is set. Now they're starting to reward people more, but it's kind of a blown over very quick. Hey, we offer this. If you buy insurance from us to provide your employees, we have a connection. We'll get everybody a gym membership discount. Well, how do you get your people to the gym? That's the part that's getting missed. So where is that part of our health plan for our society in teaching things? Same things in the schools. This bleeds down to everything else. I've just had this conversation with a couple of my younger ones the other day. You guys remember the President's Award in school?
Oh,
They
yeah,
do,
yeah.
the sit and reach and the pull-ups and the mile run, all that stuff. My daughter told me this year, my oldest daughter said, I'm taking PE online.
What? How do you take PE online?
What? She goes, yeah. I said, how the hell do you do that? And she goes, oh, well, they give you some stuff and,
Do it on your own.
Yep. Say you do it.
It doesn't work for adults.
Yeah. Sometimes they require you to send a picture, but I'm like, that's where we've gone. There's no more education on basic stuff. A couple of years ago, I had a conversation with my oldest son and daughter, on their bank account. You spend your money. No. Well, how do you know what you have? No. Same thing. I go back. I had a class. It was OJT, and there was a separate name for it. But I got out of school 2 hours early. If you had a job, you got early release. But the class time was how to balance a checkbook, how to pay bills, how to communicate with people, how to shake hands, how to get ready for an interview. None of that is taught anymore.
And it's sad because, and I've always said personal finance, and I see like the fitness end of it now, just talking now.
Yeah.
If they focus on that versus calculus or all that stuff, my mind kind of just pushes the stuff away that I'm never going to use.
Yeah.
Right.
And that happens, I feel like with everybody, right? You know what I mean? I'm never going to use this in anything I do unless I'm going to be a math teacher.
Right.
Right. Maybe an engineer. Maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like the stuff that's important just gets left out.
I wish they could teach you the important things, like the things that you are absolutely going to have to use in your day-to-day life. And then once you decide you want to be an engineer, then that's what you go and take those classes in college. Like once you decide you want to be a nurse, once you decide you want to be a whatever,
But a better job with like trade schools and
Oh,
stuff like that,
absolutely.
like Marshman and
No, I'm great all the way.
stuff like that.
Even when I-
Better job.
Yeah. Even when I have kids, I would so totally push them towards that because at least, now you have something that's going to give you a skill that you will, especially with a trade. I mean, trades are inevitable. We all need them. We're a plumbing and AC company. That's never going to go away. Robert, more than likely, a robot is never going to be able to replace that. I went to Marchman, which is a trade school locally in our area for hair, so I was in the beauty industry for 10 years. So there's never going to be a robot that can do somebody's hair. It's just not going to happen. So, you could always take that, use that skill, and then decide you want to do something different, and then still have that plan B, a backup that might even be able to pay you to do that while you're going back to school for something else. So I wish that they would try to like shift kids' brains more that way, because especially like for trades, my father's a land surveyor, and in the state of Florida last year, only 12 people got their license last year. Only 12. So that's going to be like
You told me that, that's wild.
yeah, I mean, now that is something that robots, they literally use robots on the day, so that is something that potentially robots could, but you're never going to be able to take away the brain power. Someone's got to sign off on it. Someone's got to go, yeah, this is absolutely 100% correct, because otherwise, they're going to go to put this building down, and then they're going to realize it's off and it's on somebody else's like, and then you have to tear the whole thing up, and it comes back down to the surveyor, and now they have to pay. So
You're just talking about AI.
yeah, I know.
Can't even spell yet.
So,
We got some time here before robots take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wish that they would start training kids to think that like do something that's a skill that is never going to be able to get taken away from you first,
Yeah.
And then even with your physical health, your physical health is the most important thing. So if they're teaching you that, that's something that you carry with you for the rest of your life. And hopefully by the time you're 50, 60, 70 years old, you don't have all these physical ailments that probably 50% of the population has.
Yeah.
So.
And just like students, students and people at work, how much more could a student with a healthy mind look?
Yes.
Again, I'm not talking when fitness gets tied very much to vanity. And I always try to dispel that. Vanity, is different in everybody's eyes, so it's going to be different for everybody. But fitness equals a healthy mind. I've never really met somebody that was doing things the right way, fitness wise, and wasn't healthy minded. I know people that have been juicing and their fitness and not healthy mind. That's different. But yeah, think about how much better everybody will do. The numbers show it. It doesn't matter if it's school or if it's here in the office, your company will be more productive if they're healthy mentally and physically. That's what it comes down to. So
And like you just talked about kids at school too, that's kind of just leapfrog them. You know what I mean? If they're just eating, you could really tell when you get older, but you eat like a real big greasy hamburger. You just feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Slow.
And it messes, honestly, you can feel it in your mind and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It just slows your whole body down.
Yeah.
For me right now, because I know you're gluten free, like I've been like purposely trying to cut back on carbs, and like you see a huge difference in your energy levels. Like I try to literally limit it to one portion, and that's like right before dinner, if anything, so that way I can slump right after. But in the morning, like if you start loading up on carbs, it breaks down into your body as sugar anyways. So then you have a huge sugar hike, and then you crash back down around noon, and you're like, time for a nap, and then you go and you wash it down with more French fries or something. But like then your levels are just up and down, and you're hiking and then hiking and crashing all along,
So we talked about this a little bit before, and I wanted to bring it up in some people probably think I'm psycho, but I used to drink at least a large iced coffee.
Okay.
In the morning, and then probably lunchtime I would have an energy drink, and whether it be a Bang or it used to be first it was Red Bull and Bang, and then I was trying to do the Celsius, which I know is a little bit better. But then even at the end of the day, I would almost have to have another one, but I would just spike,
all day long.
spike, and I would like almost be like ready to pass out on my desk.
Yeah.
And you're just not productive.
Yep.
And once I cut out all caffeine and all energy drink, I have so much more energy.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And I love coffee.
I know.
Honestly, I love
They just put this thing at the end of my freaking street, so every time I pull out, I'm like, oh, what do I do? This morning, man, it's good coffee.
And my dad, he's similar. He will drink coffee all day.
My dad does it too.
Hot coffee. It'll be 120 degrees outside. We'll be on the boat fishing, and he's drinking hot coffee and then before he goes to bed. And coffee did that to me too, where I could drink a large coffee before I go to bed, and I would just go to bed fine.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Your body just kind of got so used to it.
Yeah.
But I was just doing this. So once I cut everything out, I felt it took a while, weeks or a month or whatever. But once everything kind of leveled out in my body,
Yeah.
I felt a lot better.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
So I'm in the same boat. I can fall asleep. I love coffee.
Yeah.
I don't put a lot of, I used to do all the fancy creams and sugars and
I
load it up. Black coffee itself is super healthy for you.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of antioxidants.
I'm like my dad. My whole life, he's like, "Well, I'm not going to get cancer because I drink that." Prove that they're, but then it's new, and he's like, "Man, I could really use it."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay."
So the same thing at night. Coffee is it's a comfort drink for me. In the morning, you know, we get up early, so we're up at 2 a.m. We're back home by 4 a.m. I like to sit and throw the news on and watch ESPN and just sip on my coffee. I'm already wired from the workouts. It's got nothing
That
to
doesn't
do
really
with
affect
me.
you. And
It's the, you know, we have 5 kids and 4 dogs and a busy life. I'll sit out on my front porch at night or in the morning and drink coffee because I'm breathing in fresh air. And the even when I'm not sitting outside, my mind is still going to that peaceful place. So the coffee becomes that, all right, let me just sip this, take a deep breath, and I'm good. So if you're doing it black or, you know, minimal things, not, you know, don't do, just get me off on another tangent, get rid of all the fake sugars and things like that.
So
If you want sugar and you want a sweet coffee drink, put real, just go get sugar in the raw and put it in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't dissolve as easy. You got to stir it up every time. But your body knows how to process that because it's real.
that's true. Yeah.
All of
I
those
argue
other
with people
things.
all the time on this stuff too, and I get the backlash. Like,
Yeah.
I went to Florida State, and I had professors kind of talking about this and really kind of brought it to light for me. But I'm like, just because it says like 0 calories and no sugar and all
Yeah.
that stuff, you're putting chemical. So now you're putting a chemical in your body.
Yep.
That they said the exact same thing. Your body doesn't know what it is.
Yep.
So it stores it.
Correct.
At least sugar you can burn.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
good, but you can at least burn it. When you see all this other these chemicals that you're just putting in your body.
Now, let me tell you how identifiable, you know, take that to another level. If I put a little shot glass of motor oil right now and you did that shot, what would happen?
Yeah,
You'd spew.
you would not feel
you'd
good.
like garbage. But if I put that same shot glass full of what they call an artificial sweetener, you can take it right down. No, your body's got no clue that it doesn't belong there. It doesn't know what to do with it. So that's why it's important to pay attention to those things. You know, so yes, going back to the coffee, drink coffee. If you're going to drink an energy drink, you know, I look at these things all the time. Most supplements on the market, and I say most, I mean like 97%.
They're not FDA regulated.
They're not considered a food or a drug. So there's no regulation.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Me and my boyfriend just like went down the rabbit hole and they said on YouTube, and we're like,
Yeah.
what?
So yes,
Like, what is my doctor getting?
there is literally some, you know, machine or somebody, and when it gets to the end of the conveyor belt, they go like this and they go, all right, we just made creatine, and then it goes into the creatine.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. All right, we just called it protein powder. So you just don't know what's in,
Yeah.
you know, which is why I say you want to get it from foods. Same thing in the energy drinks. You know, they're not necessarily regulated to be exact. It's very, very lightly looked at, just like a lot of things. There are some products though out there that are really clean. Jocko Fuel is the one that I have actually gone to over the last 4 to 6 weeks. I spent the last 6 months listening to the Jocko Willner. I've read all the books, the Echelon Front, the Extreme Ownership, Dichotomy Leadership. I went down that rabbit hole and like, man, I really like this stuff because it reminds me, it's fitness coaching. It's fitness coaching. That's what it is. It applies to everything you do. I don't care what you look at in life. It applies to everything. So I've really dove down that. And he's a big believer on, you know, he eats a ton of meat. He's a red meat guy, but he makes sure it's, you know, it's all safely, you know,
It's not just
it's not
injected
stuff.
with all that stuff.
Yeah, so he's really paying attention to that stuff, but he decided to come up with his own, you know, supplement line, and they're really clean supplements. Most of the Jocko Fuel energy drinks are vitamins and minerals.
Where do you get that at?
You're starting to see them more everywhere. You used to not be able to, but now just about every Circle K, Wawa,
Okay.
actually just announced, I think last week they're back in Wawa's. I think there was something there. Small gyms, Karen, you can get it everywhere.
Okay, that's
Like
cool.
anything else, hop on Amazon or someplace you may find a case of it. a bunch of different flavors. Some of them have minimal caffeine, 90 milligrams, cup of coffee. But it's a good product, and you're putting what seems to be, again, you got to go on faith, what seems to be a real product in your body. I bought a case of one recently, drank them all, liked them. Just had one a day. There's just something to sip on. Again, even if I go, my go-to typically is a Celsius. That's another one of the cleaner products that's out there. I'm not drinking it because I'm looking for a burst of energy.
Right.
The choice is either a can of Coke that's loaded with sugar or the Celsius. So I get the Celsius. And sugar intake, since we've mentioned that, do you know what the equivalent to a gram of sugar would look like? Like a teaspoon, tablespoon? Do you know?
I don't know. Yeah.
So I did this test at a company one day. We were talking through because, of course, everybody there drinks soda. And they're like, I drink the sugar-free stuff. I'm like, doesn't matter. It's got a teaspoon of something in it. So let me show you what that looks like. So a teaspoon, I'm hoping I'm remembering this correctly, a teaspoon of sugar would be equivalent to a gram of sugar. So I asked them all, what's your favorite drink? It's Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, all these other things. Mountain Dew tends to be the one with the most in it, but they're all in that 35 to 50 grams of sugar. That's 50 teaspoons of sugar.
Oof.
So I don't care what it is you eat or drink. When you're looking at the label and you look at added sugar. So again, fruit, people say fruit's high in sugar. I'm like, yeah, but it's because it's in the fruit. Like, that's okay. When you're looking at added sugar, it doesn't matter again what it is. It can be your yogurt. There's all these secret things. There's some great documentaries, and I, again, don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but it's good education to know if you're making the effort so that you don't get frustrated when something doesn't work. The yogurt industry has done amazing things to trick us into thinking that yogurt is the healthiest thing you can eat. And you got all these probiotics and these live cultures and this, that, and the other. And then you flip it over and it's got 10, 12 grams of sugar.
Yeah, dairy's not really my thing anyways, but.
Yeah. So, that's why I asked. So whatever it is, would you add 10 teaspoons of sugar to your kid's cereal?
Unfortunately, in the US, they make you do a lot of research to try to be healthy. Like,
They don't make it easy for you.
I went to Ireland and stuff, and like, no, you don't get all these artificial dyes. You don't get this. You don't get that.
Yep.
They care. I don't know. It's, again, maybe conspiracy theorists, but why is the U.S. a place where you get the worst food? Right.
Everything's fast,
Yeah.
everything's immediate, and it's immediate gratification. Since we were
Yes.
little, it was we'll pull over at McDonald's, that's your treat after school. It's that immediate dopamine release that we're all striving for.
Yeah.
So I mean, why do they do it here? I don't know.
Well, I can
We might
tell
get
you why.
canceled if I tell you why.
Yeah. Health insurance is a big deal. Let me
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
how much money that's responsible for in our economy. Unfortunately, it's all tied together.
Yeah.
I throw things out there, ideas all the time, and
I'm actually going to Switzerland in May, and I'm super excited because I'm everything there. Switzerland is the #1 cleanest food, drink
Yep.
country in the literal world.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back with a nice slim, ripped abs, probably not. Then I'm going to Italy. No, probably not. And then I'm going to Italy too on that same trip. Same thing, everything that they put there, it's literally grown in their yards. All of their spaghetti sauces, they literally sauce right there for you. Even the wines they make right there, there's none of that processed crap that we hear.
So I've never
You can't drink the water, but
then you eat pasta and all that stuff, you feel like crap after.
Yeah.
Supposedly over there,
Marcia, actually, when I came over to your house, I was telling her that.
Yeah.
Marcia said the same thing. She was like, everything is spaghetti every damn day, and I loved it. And she
Yep.
was like, and I didn't feel bloated out.
Yeah.
Because they are making their own pastas,
Yep.
right?
2 or 3 years ago, did a big tour, and every single day, multiple times a day, they had some type of bread, some type of pasta, some sort of carb, and the same thing. They're like, A, we didn't feel heavy and lethargic, and B, everybody's moving, walking.
That's true. They have a totally different culture.
It's completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
So, especially in Switzerland, in the one spot that we're going, it's the Lauterbrunnen Valley, and they literally don't drive anywhere there. One, because you can't, you're in the Alps. But two, they walk everywhere, they bike everywhere, and that's their main form of transportation. It's just basic fitness, Same thing over in a lot of places in Italy. I mean, people are riding their bikes just as much as they're driving their cars there. So it's just a totally different lifestyle there. now you can kind of go with it because it's cool that we can take our cars and go places, and then they live in the cities where it's so congested and they can just walk everywhere. So it's kind of like, what kind of quality of life do you want to live too? But the same thing, I mean, that's why, like, have you ever heard of the blue zones in the world? Like, yeah, it's like these blue zones, like these are the people who live statistically the longest. Like, YouTube that later. Again, I mean, it's these people that live statistically the most and the longest, and it's like Switzerland, it's Ireland, and then there's like the Mediterranean, like the Greek, and it's because they're walking, they are planting their own foods, they are drinking way more water, so there's not as much processed foods.
Yeah.
So it's like, those are your blue zones where statistically you could live a lot longer. And it's just because of the core things that you're doing, that comes down to basic physical fitness and health.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good rabbit hole.
Yeah, we were just in New York City over Christmas, and there's the same thing. There's pockets of places. I'm not going to say again. You can be skinny and unhealthy.
Oh yeah,
it's the perception. So being but being in the city, it was all of our kids, and we walked everywhere. We did all the touristy things in Times Square and Central Park. But everybody you looked, everybody was walking, everybody was moving. You don't see nearly the same amount of obesity in the city where people can walk and have access to everything. And most of them, just like we did, we ate pizza. We were only there 3 days, and we ate pizza probably 10 times a day for all 3 days. That's it. We did nothing but eat junky. But again, same thing. You ate your slice of pizza, and then you were walking again.
Yeah.
An hour or two. You never felt it because you went and burned it off. You didn't just go sit and just could be stored. So it comes back to activity level.
Okay, well, we are all going to do the same podcast in like 6 months. And we're going to work out every single day together. And we're going to see our difference, okay? Scheduling for 6 months afterwards.
Sure. And a lot of people are doing this now. Benzik?
It's
like an injection. Same injection.
Yes. So you're talking about the one that was for diabetes or diabetic drug? Yeah. And then the diabetics couldn't get the drug because it was being used up on people with weight. So people saw significant weight loss. Now, of course, that's probably been within the last 2 years, really, that's become a big thing. So now there's been enough time and research behind it. And again, I'm not going to say that we already knew the answer to this, but we certainly didn't tell people. The people that were on that have not only put all of that weight back on, because you can't continue to take that forever, but they had a decrease in 25 to 50% of the weight they lost was muscle mass.
Oh, wow.
It's eating away at their muscles, not just burning fat. So again, quick fix. How much study was done into it prior to it? I don't know. I just know that it started to get approved. Again, health insurance related, but it's had significant negative impacts on the people that did it.
Yeah,
and I understand people that might need it if they're like
Get a boost.
really get a boost, maybe get you going, stuff like that. But then I hear people that are skinny and using it. You know what I mean? That shouldn't be
trying to burn off last with extra fat. It's just not going to do it, and same thing. What they didn't say in that study was how many of those people lost weight and then continued to stay active. My guess is just naturally, if you stayed active, maybe you still saw a 10 or 15% decrease in muscle mass because it was doing something to the muscles. But if you at least exercised, you battled that.
I almost wonder, like, what are the long-term effects of that, like, in 10 and 15 years of, like, if you were taking that from us, however long of a time period, and, like, if that was removing muscle mass from you, like, yes, you can build that back, but, like, do you think that there's going to be, like, certain studies, like, in 10, 15 years, like, actually, the people that were all using this, that would make me worried.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you figure at age 30, for women, it can happen a little sooner. It has something to do with, being pregnant and going through pregnancy and things like that. But just average age 30 for male and female, you start to develop about 0.5% atrophy in muscle mass naturally. Just that's the starting point of when it happens. It can happen sooner, but average age. So again, I've got a client I was working with yesterday. He lives in Cleveland. He's been with me for 20 years now. And my goal, I've always told, my goal is always to educate somebody so that they can go on and do their thing without me, because that means I taught them something. But you develop relationships, and this gentleman's become like an uncle to my kids. And it's a therapeutic session. Like I kick his butt, but it's very much, I should I think if I went to like USF, I could convince him to give me an honorary psychiatric degree.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to be able to handle this.
You got it.
Yeah. But so this is what we were talking about with how time flies. So when I met him 20 years ago, he was the same age I am now. And I was 27. And we were like, my gosh, it's been that long already. And he just recently started training again. It's, when I lived up there, and that's how I met him. And I had lived there on and off because my kids were from that area. When I was up there, he was on point. He felt good. He looked good. He'd lose the weight. He'd eat good. He'd do all those things. And if I moved away, he'd go back out the door again. And we would touch base and maybe do some stuff. Again, this is a long time ago, so a little bit of FaceTime. But recently he had called. He's like, I'm 67 now, 65, somewhere in there. I hurt, like I ache. I'm heavier than I've ever been. And he's probably 6'3", 250. So he's not a small guy. It's all in his belly. So it's all visceral fat. It's the fat around his organs. It's the fat around his waistline, which is the two worst kind of fats that you can have. So we started training about a month ago, and it's basic. We're back to basic. I throw him on FaceTime because that's the easiest way for him to do it. He goes back down into his basement like he used to, same place where I was trained. And it's just body weight movements. It's getting him to be able to stretch and range of motion. But he asked me the other day, he goes, I feel like in the past when you and I have worked out, it was almost instantly. I said, yeah, but this is the longest gap,
you're a lot older now, and your metabolism is way slow.
All of those things. Yeah.
Yes.
Neglected yourself.
And muscle atrophy happens even while you're exercising.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a battle. If you're losing 0.5% every year, then what you used to do just battles that. Again, this is where that planning comes into play. So you need to work out, not necessarily twice as hard, but there are some things that you need to significantly do different. And for women, the biggest thing to overcome is getting away from the mindset of, well, I don't want to look like a man. Well, good, because it's physically impossible to look like a man if you're a woman. The DNA is just genetically different. You mean you don't want to be big, muscular? Yes, I'm like, great, because here's the other thing. If you don't lift heavy and bulky, then that doesn't happen. So resistance training is the number one. Resistance training burns the most fat and calories. It burns it the longest amount during the day. So you're talking up to 16 hours of burn after a resistance training workout. Cardio, it typically lasts about 2 hours. That's it.
Wow. Yeah.
So you gotta lift. You gotta lift weights.
Ugh. I know. You handed me 10 pounds. I said, you got 5. Like, literally.
It's not for weight. Yeah. Percentage, that's a lot. I gotta do like 50s.
In the arms.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. It gotta be everything.
That's good.
It's makes a lot. You got to spend time for yourself to do the right things.
You do.
So if you want to help other people, you have to get your stuff right to be able to help other people.
Yeah. I think I say that every time I hop on out. It's always my reminder to take care of yourself first. There is a level of selfishness that is required that you have to have in order to take care of.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree.
My wife is a travel nurse. She is, one of the few out there that genuinely cares about her patients. When she comes home, she's sometimes just mentally defeated because she sees a lot of elderly patients. She sees how poorly run the health insurance industry is, and these people that have been neglected, for lots and lots of reasons and things that are typically beyond their control. Maybe not what got them there, but the help they're supposed to be able to get isn't accessible. And I tell them, like, you've got to find a way after every patient to get back in your car, roll down your windows, close your eyes,
recenter yourself.
Yeah, reset and then go to the next one. And you have to, unfortunately, you don't have to forget about them because they're always in the back of your mind, but you've got to be able to forget that situation and go on to the next. Yeah, you can't come home with 16 different patients worth of stress on your mind.
That was me when I did hair. I know that's like totally different ballgame. But why do people talk about getting married? Then your second one's husband just died, and then your third one's kid is going to school and he's heavily autistic, and she's talking about the struggles with that. And then your fourth one is going to a birthday party later. So you're like,
Yeah.
with every single one, and you come home and you're like, someone's trying to talk to you, and you're like, I can't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I physically can't talk to you.
Yeah.
So you do like trying to ground yourself and all of that, and then like you said, like clearing your mind before you go to bed. It's just like the biggest thing, like your mental, and that's where I come in, because that's my jam. Like I always said when I did hair, it was always trying to empower other people so that they could have a better life for them. You know, usually they're coming to me, or they're coming to me because they just need. This is sometimes for a lot of women like their only time away from their kids, their family, their life, their work. You know.
Yeah.
So for me, my job was to empower them and give them that, like, hey, you know, you can be confident, this, and that. Kind of brain farted where I was going with that.
Like a psychiatrist.
I literally.
You told me.
It was hard to go.
Yes. Yeah, but it's really
My biggest thing, and I say that to everybody, like, and you know, you guys are married, you guys both have kids, like, you can't pour from an empty cup, you know. So if yours is always draining, you know, and you're always getting all these other things dumped on top of you, you know, if you don't take those moments to work out in the morning, if you don't take your moments to do your morning routine, or maybe it's a closing up routine for yourself. If you're not doing something for yourself every single day, there's no way that you're gonna be able to give to other people in the same way.
absolutely.
You know, and then when you're not giving to people in the same way that you wanted, you can't love yourself the way that you want others to love you. You know, at some point it's gonna come out in some area where you shouldn't have said that. You know. Right, absolutely. You know. Especially when you're running a business, exactly. Especially when you're running a business, and you know, in the back of your head, you're playing with your kid, and there's a poison strikes, or he's jumping off of something, and you're like, this one bill or something else. You know, like you have to find ways to compartmentalize that, even in the moment, because you know, your kids are going to grow up one day, and then they're going to realize that subconsciously, well, if dad was doing that, you know, that's just normal, and I'm going to do that, and you know, you have this generational passed down, you know, so instilling all the healthy things and the healthy lifestyle points now, so that way the next generation is hopefully better, you know, better than us.
Yeah.
Shit.
Two great things you brought up with that I talked to a lot of people about. It's again, it's mind, body, soul. It's going to bring all those things. Clearing your head is more important than the amount of sleep you get. I know
We talked about this one too.
yes, Andrew Huberman, if you've never listened to him, listen to him. He's an awesome professor at Stanford University. Got a really cool story too. Grew up as kind of a deviant skateboarder kid, tattooed up. Like when you look at if you just read his credentials and then you see him, you're like, wait a minute. He's the opposite of everything. But he does tons and tons of different sleep studies and how to biohack the body. So he's got some really good stuff, and he is huge on sleep. But there is a lot of truth to the 90-minute sleep cycle, and there's more truth too, because I always ask, how much sleep do you get? You know, I get 6 hours, I get 8 hours, I get 10 hours, whatever it is. I'm like, well, how do you feel? Well, I slept like crap. All right, so then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you slept.
Yeah.
You know, did you
He's
take
got a
time?
new baby at home.
Oh yeah. So it's are you clearing your head before you shut your eyes? It is not easy to do. I definitely am an overthinker. Everything in my head, I'm replaying. If that whole people have 60,000 thoughts, 45,000 of them are negative, 95% of them are repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Me.
true.
Yeah.
That's me.
That's
That's me
me.
worrying about
Same.
all the bad things that are going on. So you've got to find a way to be able to clear your head. And you can do that a couple times a day, and it doesn't take long. But you got to focus on doing it so that you can get good quality sleep, 90-minute sleep cycle. The second part of that you brought up is the energy levels. So great comparison, even more so now, because I've always used cell phone as a comparison. You wake up every day and your list of things to do is 10 things. So you go to the gym this morning and you get your workout in, you feel good, you go home, eat, say bye to the kids, all that good stuff. You come to work and you crush that first task. That's it. Now, I don't care who you are, whatever energy you used, that was the only time of the day you had 100% of what you were going to give.
Yeah.
Now, energy level versus effort level, two different things. I don't question that you're not going to give 100% effort to the next task, but that 100% effort might only come with 80% energy.
Yeah.
Now, cell phones, you'd plug it back in, because when it got down to 20, 30% or 3%, you plug it back into the charge, and then your phone could function at a higher level because you recharged it. And then when it didn't do that fast enough, they came up with speed chargers. So now you can get back to 80% in 20 minutes and your phone will function at a faster level. We don't do that.
No.
It doesn't happen. You can eat healthy, you can exercise, you can do those things, but with every task that you go through on a daily basis, again, effort level, I don't question, but if you've only got 50% left of what you started the day with, that task is getting 100% effort with 50% of the energy. So that's all you can do. So if the list becomes overwhelming and the things that are remaining on it aren't necessarily priorities today, don't be afraid to bump those. They always have to be our priority. And again, this is where you go down that rabbit hole of people being able to prioritize things. But then typically you don't see those things if someone's committed to health and fitness. If they're committed to getting to the gym every day and keeping themselves healthy and fit and eating the right things, there's usually a lot less in their life that's a mess.
I can't remember what book it was that I was reading. We have to hop off here soon because we're past an hour. But
Okay.
I can't remember what book it was that I was reading. It'll come to me. But the very first chapter was literally talking about making promises yourself. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people wants to go to the gym, it doesn't happen, you know. If you can't make that one promise to yourself every single day that you love and care enough about yourself, that you want to take care of yourself enough so you can take care of others, right? And you're like, I'm not gonna go to the gym this morning, I'm gonna snooze for 10 more minutes. You know, how are other people supposed to hold your promises true and accountable?
Yeah.
You know? So if you can't even follow through with your actions saying like, hey, I'm going to work out every single day, you know, because I want to be better, I want to live healthier, I want to be better for those around me. You know, how are other people supposed to take you serious with your words, you know, and your actions?
Yeah.
So holding yourself accountable should be probably the biggest and first promise that anybody makes to themselves,
Absolutely.
regardless whether it is, you know, maybe fitness really isn't your thing. Well, what is your one thing and how often are you holding true to your word? You know, how often are you consistent with it?
Yeah.
So, chill. But we're like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh,
So we gotta
okay.
chill. Thank you for coming on. I feel like we need to have like a once a month, like I don't know.
Do fitness.
Yes.
I would say. Absolutely.
I just think people get a hold of you.
So I have a wonderful young lady by the name of Charlene that I'm meeting after this from here. She is, her and her husband are finishing up my website today.
Okay.
The website is sharktankfitness.fit.
Okay.
If you go to it right now, it'll say like 2 days remaining.
Yeah.
We're finalizing all of those things on the website. There are going to be different programs that people can purchase. The executive wellness programs for businesses. One of the big things that I decided to do with the website was put a monthly program. I think I have it at $159 a month. That gets you a full routine for 4 weeks,
That's awesome.
plus some nutrition counseling and a meeting once a month or once a week with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there's,
Say less than
there's not anywhere else you can have access directly to the person that's designing that stuff
for
and answer
that.
their questions. Yeah, so that'll be on there, but sharktankfitness.fit is the website, and then all of my social media, it's tied to Facebook, Instagram, some type of shark reference. It's just Jason Ayan on Facebook, but you'll see all the links.
Thank you so much for coming on today. This
Thank
was really awesome. I feel like I got every
Yeah.
yeah. This is great, and for anybody that doesn't know Jason, please get to know him. He's amazing, and obviously after everything, he's very informal. He knows what he's talking about. So yes. Some Tuesdays and Thursdays, right?
That's right, Tuesday, Thursday. And it's free. There's no charge. There's business owners and people that come. Carol's been, Marcia's been,
Yeah.
Mark,
I
Jan.
saw Thomas won the.
Thomas won. Appropriate. I thought, aqua blue pool guy. Appropriate. He crushed it today. But yes, come over. 1 minute intervals. Carol can speak to it. It's 1 minute intervals.
You feel great like when you leave. Maybe in the moment, if you haven't worked out like me, you're like, I'm going to go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, and then you really do like you see the difference in your productivity levels like all day. So for sure, I mean, it was worth it. It was awesome.
That's
like battery stuff, but it expands your battery.
It
does.
does. Yeah. Go for it. Triple A's or a little block better. It's
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ethan. It was great to be here.